You wake before dawn, not to meet the sun, but to meet the image of someone who does. You open your notes app. You scroll through 5 productivity blogs. You adjust your desk lamp for the 3rd time. You film a 12-second clip of your coffee steaming beside an open notebook. Aesthetic grinding, perfectly lit, perfectly silent, perfectly empty. You post it. You feel a flicker, not of accomplishment, but of recognition. A dopamine whisper, a microdose of validation.
And just like that, you've traded action for audition. This is not discipline. This is displacement. This is not focus. This is fugue. This is not work. This is worship of a false god named productivity porn.
We are simultaneously predator and prey, exploiting ourselves voluntarily without external constraints. Byung-Chul Han, The Achievement Society, 73% of knowledge workers report spending more time documenting their workflow than executing it. You don't realize it yet, but every tutorial you bookmark, every app you download, every morning routine you curate, every Instagram story showing your planner with gold-inked affirmations.
None of it moves the needle on what matters. It only thickens the fog between intention and impact. You've mistaken preparation for progress, and in doing so, you've outsourced your agency to the aesthetics of effort. Stoicism does not begin with virtue. It begins with diagnosis.
And the first diagnosis is this: you are not failing to act. You are succeeding at avoiding the friction of real action.
That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, not for publication, not for likes, not even for memory, but as a daily act of self-witnessing. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. He didn't build a brand around virtue.
He practiced it in silence, in mess, in failure. He governed an empire while coughing blood. He buried sons. He led legions into plague-ridden provinces. And still, he returned each night to a single wax tablet, writing not what he'd done, but what he failed to be. Not performance, presence.
You are not behind. You are over-scripted. Your calendar is full, but your will is vacant. Your feed is curated, but your character is untested. Your plan is flawless, but your hands have never held the clay.
This is the fake grind trap. A self-constructed theater where you play both director and captive, applauding your own rehearsals while the premiere never begins. The mind that confuses planning with doing has already surrendered its sovereignty to distraction.
You believe order precedes excellence. You've been lied to.
Look at the desks of history's most consequential creators. Not the influencers, not the gurus, but the ones who changed things. Newton's study littered with apple cores and half-burnt candle wax. Da Vinci's notebooks, crossed out, smudged, annotated sideways in mirror script. Toni Morrison's handwritten drafts, bleeding ink, arrows flying across margins like frantic birds escaping cages.
Chaos is not the enemy of creation. It is the medium. It is the friction that proves something real is happening. When you insist on a clean workspace, a perfect environment, a distraction-free zone, what you're really demanding is safety from consequence.
You want the illusion of control before you've even touched the work. You want the world to hold its breath while you prepare to exhale meaning. But Stoicism teaches virtue lives in the encounter, not the setup.
Epictetus, born enslaved, taught that freedom isn't found in ideal conditions. It's forged within constraint. His classroom wasn't marble-floored. It was a colonnade in Nicopolis, open to wind, rain, shouting children, barking dogs. He didn't wait for silence. He spoke into it. Epictetus, 50 to 135 AD, Stoicism, perfect environment. Delayed action, diminished nerve. Erosion of self-trust. Neuroscience confirms this. The brain doesn't activate its highest-order executive functions when conditions are too controlled.
It activates them under moderate uncertainty, when the system must adapt, prioritize, improvise. That's why flow emerges not in sterile studios, but in cramped apartments, late-night garages, subway platform notebooks. Because the brain interprets friction not as threat, but as invitation. So here is your first strategic move. Aesthetic destruction. Not sabotage, not sloppiness. Intentional disorder. Work in the kitchen while your toddler draws on your laptop. Write your essay in a cafe where the espresso machine screams. Draft your business model on a napkin.
Record your voice memo while walking uphill, breath ragged, phone shaking. Let your environment resist you.
Because every time you choose chaos over curation, you send a signal to your nervous system, to your subconscious, to your soul, that you are ready to engage with reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. If your work requires perfect lighting, perfect silence, and perfect posture, you haven't started yet.
What happens if you wait for ideal conditions? Nothing. What happens if you begin in chaos? Momentum, clarity, authority.
You've read 12 books on writing but haven't written 3 coherent paragraphs. You've watched 8 hours of coding tutorials but haven't built a single function. You've subscribed to 5 newsletters on leadership but haven't led anything. This is not curiosity. This is cognitive hoarding.
This is dopamine laundering, converting the energy of intention into the cheap currency of consumption. Every time you open another article titled 5 Habits of Highly Effective People, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine, not because you're learning, but because you're postponing.
You're trading the vulnerability of doing for the safety of studying how to do. You're building a library of maps while refusing to step onto the road. 68% of self-directed learners abandon projects within 72 hours of consuming their 3rd tutorial. Stoicism has no patience for this.
Seneca didn't write letters about how to live so you could collect them like trading cards. He wrote them so you would burn the letter after reading and go immediately to the task at hand. His famous line, "Life is long if you know how to use it," wasn't philosophical ornamentation.
It was a rebuke, a command. No man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom is the product of action, not accumulation. Seneca, Letters to Lucilius. The zero-input protocol is simple. For the next 72 hours, no new books, no new courses, no new podcasts, no new apps, no new frameworks, just one thing.
One sentence, one line of code, one sketch, one email you've avoided sending. Let your ignorance show. Let your first attempt be wrong. Let your syntax be broken.
Let your argument collapse mid-sentence.
Because here's the truth. Neuroscience refuses to sugarcoat. Dopamine spikes not from learning, but from completion, from resolution, from closure.
And every time you consume input without output, you train your brain to seek resolution in the wrong place, in the click, the scroll, the bookmark, rather than in the messy, irreversible act of making.
Consume input, dopamine spike, temporary satisfaction, no neural reinforcement of skill. Repeat, so stop preparing to begin. Begin and let the preparation emerge from the doing. Your competence is not built in the library. It is forged in the furnace of imperfect execution.
You mistake discomfort for danger. You interpret confusion for failure. You read resistance as evidence that you're on the wrong path. You are not. Friction is not noise. It is signal. It is the body's way of saying something real is being moved. Think of the blacksmith.
He doesn't measure progress by how clean his forge is, or how many times he's watched videos on metallurgy. He measures it by the heat in the iron, the tremor in his arm, the blisters on his palm. Each blister is data. Each tremor is calibration. Each spark is confirmation. This is alive.
Modern psychology calls this psychic entropy, the mind's inability to organize attention when overwhelmed by unprocessed input. But Stoics called it the first sign of growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action."
What stands in the way becomes the way. Not despite the obstacle, but through it. The friction is the path. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. So your new metric is not speed, not output, not even quality, yet it is frustration density. How much resistance did you meet today? How many times did your plan fail? How often did you pause not out of fatigue, but because your mind hit a wall it had to climb, not walk around? That wall is not blocking you. It is defining you. If you finish a day without frustration, you spent it rehearsing, not creating.
Friction is the gravitational field of mastery. Without mass, there is no pull.
You post your to-do list. You share your Pomodoro timer screenshot. You caption your notebook photo. Day 1 of my 90-day focus sprint. What are you really sharing? Not discipline, not progress.
You're sharing proof of performance, evidence that you are trying, so others won't ask whether you're doing. This is performative silence's inverse, performative noise. A broadcast designed to preempt accountability with the world, and worse, with yourself.
Stoicism demands ascesis, not austerity, but disciplined withdrawal. Not from the world, but from the echo chamber of your own image. Epictetus warned, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear ignorant and foolish in regard to outward things." Why?
Because every time you announce your intention, you steal the urgency from its execution. You satisfy the ego's hunger before the work has fed the soul. Epictetus, 5d to 135 AD Stoicism. Every public declaration of intent is a down payment on future shame. Real work is quiet.
It happens in the dark. It happens before the light hits the screen.
It happens in the 3 a.m. doubt, the erased paragraph, the discarded prototype, the call you almost made, and then didn't until you did. So your fourth strategic move, performative silence, no grind posts.
No, just started. Updates. No progress screenshots. No humble bragging about your 5 a.m. ritual. Nothing goes online until the work speaks for itself, not as potential, but as artifact. Let your output be your only biography. Let your finished thing be your only credential.
Let your silence be your signature. The moment you post your process, you've already begun editing your legacy before the story is written.
You wait for inspiration. You wait for clarity. You wait for the right moment. There is no right moment. There is only this moment, and the ugly, stumbling, half-formed thing you make inside it. Perfectionism is not high standards. It is fear dressed in polish.
It is the ego's last fortress, where I am not ready sounds nobler than I am afraid. But look at history's most transformative works. The first draft of 1984 was riddled with crossed-out pages, marginalia screaming, "No wrong tone." The original manuscript of To Kill a Mockingbird was rejected 17 times. Its author told to write about something people care about. Steve Jobs' first Next computer shipped with a case so heavy it required 2 people to lift, and its OS crashed daily.
It was ugly, it was broken, it was real. Steve Jobs, 1985, launched Next with hardware so flawed. Engineers wept, but the software kernel became Mac OS. Ugly execution is not sloppiness. It is radical fidelity to the present tense. It means shipping the version that makes you cringe.
Publishing the essay that feels too raw, sending the pitch that lacks polish, building the MVP that looks like duct tape and hope. Because here's what neuroscience reveals. The brain consolidates learning not during perfect repetition, but during error correction.
Every stumble, every rewrite, every failed iteration strengthens the neural pathway more than smooth, effortless repetition. Mistakes aren't detours. They're the deep cuts where memory takes root.
89% of breakthrough innovations emerged from iterations labeled unusable in early testing. So your final move, ugly execution. Write the sentence that embarrasses you. Code the function that breaks the app. Sketch the logo that looks like a child drew it.
Record the voiceover where your voice shakes. Do it badly. Do it fast. Do it now. A perfect plan is a tombstone for potential. An ugly execution is a heartbeat.
You think you'll become disciplined after you finish this project. You think you'll gain confidence after the launch. You think you'll feel worthy after the validation. You are reversing cause and effect.
Stoicism teaches, character is not revealed in success. It is forged in the fidelity to action, regardless of outcome. You don't become a writer by publishing a book. You become a writer by writing, even when no one reads it. Even when it's bad. Even when it's hard. Even when it's yours.
This is the deepest trap of the fake grind, confusing identity with output. You say I'm a creator, but you haven't created. You say I'm a leader, but you haven't led. You say I'm disciplined, but your discipline exists only in the plan. You are not what you intend to be.
You are what you consistently do. So let go of the title, let go of the label, let go of the persona, return to the act. Not the aesthetic, not the algorithm,
not the applause. Just the hand moving across the page, the finger pressing record, the breath steadying before the difficult conversation. The choice to begin not when conditions align, but because you exist. That is Stoic power, not invincibility, not perfection, but unbroken continuity between will and world.
Your integrity is measured not in what you produce, but in what you protect. Your attention, your silence, your willingness to be unfinished.
You don't need more discipline. You need less performance. You don't need better tools. You need braver starts. You don't need motivation. You need permission to be messy, to be uncertain, to be human in motion.
The fake grind trap dissolves not when you get better at faking it, but when you stop pretending you need permission to begin. So today, destroy one aesthetic, close one tab, feel one frustration, and name it as progress. Stay silent, ship something ugly, and when you do, don't post it, don't name it.
Don't frame it. Just let it exist as proof, not to the world, but to yourself, that you are no longer auditioning. You are acting. You are here. You are real. What if the bravest thing you do today has no audience? You were never meant to grind for witnesses. You were meant to act for life.
If this struck something true, don't screenshot it. Don't share it. Just close this tab and begin.